stuck between a libertarian and a Republican? Welcome to Publitarian Podcast.
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, everybody. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming at you again with another episode of Publitarian Podcast. And I am very fortunate to have with me Empire State Conservatives, Evan and Tack. How are you guys doing today?
I'm dynamic. Tack's dynamic.
Tack is dynamic.
I am feeling very much shut in and upset that the facial recognition on my phone doesn't work anymore because I decided to grow my beard out and I cannot go to the barber to have it cleaned up.
You're a stranger to your phone now.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to get the COVID-19 coronavirus barber special like I did. Put the number 1 on the blades and just let it happen.
I can't download apps because I forgot what my password was, and I can't use my face. I can't use Apple Pay. It's very frustrating.
You know what works? And this is not me like plugging any kind of company, but I use these Andes, the razors, and they do like an excellent job.
But I love my beard. I want to keep it.
He just doesn't want to keep it that long.
Yeah, I just want to clean it up a little bit so I can use my phone.
That's what I'm saying. Clean it up a little bit. It doesn't really. It comes with this like little edger thing, so you don't get rid of all of it.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
We have gone completely off the rails, and I started the
I had a whole intro and everything, but my listeners will understand. I mean, I go off the rails a lot. But since this is an audio-only podcast, I have to point out that Evan does have a majestic beard, and that's what he's talking about right now. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is Empire State Conservatives. You guys are based in New York. I'm assuming you're both conservative.
Yes.
And you were in a very blue state. How does that affect your daily lives, or does it affect your daily lives?
So I'm born and raised Queens and Long Island. So I grew up in Little Neck, which is essentially Long Island, but it's part of Queens. I grew up North Shore, Long Island, which for some reason is highly Democrat, even though a lot of people have a lot of money. But the real thing is that most people around here don't know why they vote Democrat. So when I started coming out as like conservative, I used to tell people that I was like a moderate so that they wouldn't freak out. And they were like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, you want to vote on certain issues. And then when I started telling them I was a conservative, they're like, well, you're not a Republican, are you? I go, yeah, I'm a Republican because I'm not a Democrat. Like
disdain in that. Just
they were just like looked at me like I was a lunatic. And I think it hasn't really affected my life too much. The best thing I think that's come of it is I've actually found I work in education. There are so many secret conservatives in education. They talk about how the education system is full of liberals. At the top, it's all like hardcore liberals, bleeding hearts, and all that other nonsense. But when you go to to teachers, there are a lot of secret conservative teachers who are just afraid to say anything because obviously they want to keep their head down. They want to keep their jobs. They're trying to get tenure so they can support their families. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's opened my eyes to how many conservatives there really are in New York. And really, it's New York City minus Staten Island. Nassau is pretty purple, and it's actually becoming more red. Suffolk County is pretty red. Westchester is blue. And the rest of the state is pretty red. It's really just New York City, and it's such a high population that the media portrays New York City as this liberal paradise, when in reality, it's people don't go and vote because they hear on the news that your vote doesn't matter if you're a conservative, and it's just not true.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tack?
He's absolutely true about that. A majority of the state is red. And we've spoken about it on our show that 2 million gun owners in New York failed to vote in 2018. Wow. I brought it up on one of our previous episodes that Governor Pataki beat Daddy Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo, when they had a 60% voter participation rate. In 2018, they had, I think, a 49% voters participation. You get what I'm saying? I can't.
Yeah.
Too much too fast. Yeah. But that's what it's going to take. And a lot of people, like Evan said, hear that they can't, that their vote doesn't matter because they're surrounded by all of these Democrats. So they stay home. They don't vote. They don't exercise their rights. But at the end of the day, scream tyranny whenever something happens. And it goes against our basic fundamental rights.
Right.
But as far as me feeling like I have an issue walking through the streets of New York City as a conservative, I don't. I used to go through the projects all the time with MAGA gear on and never once got pressed about it.
Because I'm walking through your hood with my red hat.
Shouts out to Bryson Tiller, right? Or Bryce Tiller.
Wow.
Yeah, I never had. My family knows that I'm a conservative. They, my friends all know that I'm conservative, and I've been the middle of Manhattan, the project, Staten Island Ferry, MAGA gear on. Never got pushed on the issue, minus one time where some. I don't want to go into his sexuality, but this guy is flagrant.
All right, now we all know who
decided he wanted to say something to me, and it didn't turn out in his favor.
Tack, this isn't our show. You can't just get the Publitarian podcast banned from every platform.
There goes my monetization. Thanks, guys.
Sorry, Ron.
No, it's all right.
But what I've seen is that a lot of people are actually moderates or even right-leaning, but there is such a stigma in New York because of the media's portrayal of conservatives that people aren't willing to admit it. And I've spoken to many people in my own family, my stepbrother, who is an African-American lawyer, who's also Jewish, who lives in Bed-Stuy, and we're talking, we agree on almost everything. But there is such a stigma against Republicans and against conservatives in New York that people are afraid to say that they're conservative, when in reality, a lot of people are. And I've done this test with women that I work with. And I'll ask them, like, do you want the government to have more control of your life or less control? Like, less. I'm like, do you want to pay more taxes or less taxes? Like, less. I'm like, do you think less people should be on welfare or more people should be on welfare? So, like, less. I'm like, you do realize that you just sided with you're right-leaning. You're not a leftist. You're not really a Democrat. If you're asking for less government control, you're not asking for a Democrat, because that's their whole play now. It's all about control and it's all about government power.
Right. And that's how it is in Florida as well. I mean, we're kind of a purple state, but kind of like how you guys are in New York. You've got like Orlando and Miami, like these two populous areas that really like drive the state, and everything around Florida that's not the coast is pretty much, red, good old boys, just people that like guns and gators. But yeah, what's sad about that is like when it seems like the population is more centrally located like that. I don't know if it's like a hive mind or something like you're saying. People tend to vote in one direction. But if you pick them apart like you guys are and individually talk to them, they'll be like, no, I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with that either. I don't know. It's sad. I don't know how we're going to combat it except by doing what we're doing, speaking out.
Yeah, well, if you're a true patriot and if you know anything about history or a fan of any type of history, you have to at least be a moderate. Like, you don't have to be far right-leaning or anything like that, but I feel like most people who are even interested in history or proud of their country are at least moderates or right-leaning or at least constitutionalists. Because if you're proud of your country, how can you not be proud of the way that it was founded and the way that it was built?
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't understand that. Like you said, you brought up the whole history thing. People don't understand that George Washington questioned himself when it came to slavery. And Alexander Hamilton was the one that made him question himself. And he's the reason why New York State didn't have slavery, was Alexander Hamilton. And he's one of our founding fathers. People just see old white men and that automatically makes them slave owners or racist. They don't dive into the facts of it. Right.
And it's because we have a teacher on the podcast, but it's a lot of how we're taught, or how we're not taught, I should say. I've had teachers on my podcast before. I even had an education professor on that's like doing the work of teaching history and trying to get like teachers on board and not doing like this government mandated, group thing. And it's surprising what's not taught anymore. And if you go through the education system now, I'm sure it's the same in New York. It's, America was founded by old white racists, and that's the end of the story. And we need to all be ashamed.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a special education schools, and we have one high school history teacher, and he's another one of those like secret. I think he's more libertarian. But he is one of those secret people who is like, listen, I understand where this country came from, and I understand the importance of our rights and the importance of certain things. And he's a devout Catholic, and he is very pro-life. He was actually, when Trump spoke at the March for Life, he went over with the kids for a good half an hour the importance of, we're of the president speaking at the March for Life and the importance of standing up for, people who can't stand up for themselves. And this is a public school in New York City that is full of kids from South Ozone Park, from Rockaways, because we're District 75. For those of you who don't know, it's a special education district. So we have kids from all over New York City, the Bronx, everywhere come to our school. And these kids sit there and they listen. At home, they're fed Democrat, abortion. This is what they're taught: racism. I know I have a kid who literally, the kid loves all the work that I do with him, and then he goes around talking about how racist white people are. I'm like, dude, I'm white. But you can't beat the home culture, and that's something that really has to be done. And you have leftists talking about now with this homeschooling, where they're against homeschooling because they think it breeds white supremacy, right? Or the state doesn't have control of what parents are teaching their kids. And listen, you're goddamn right. Parents have control over what they teach the kids. That's not the state's job. If I'm a parent and I decide that I don't want my kid going to Drag Queen Story Hour, guess what? Kid's not going to Drag Queen Story Hour.
You're such a bigot.
I know, right?
I tell them that all the time.
No one told you to talk.
See? You see?
Yeah, see? God, man. Always keeping you down.
These damn Jews, they run everything.
Listen, Sammy Davis Jr. You don't have time for that.
Wait a minute. Wasn't he a Jew?
Exactly. That's why he called me.
He converted. Oh, that's
well, Empire State Conservatives ruining podcasts one at a time.
Okay, so my sponsors for today are no one, and so dare we get into the COVID-19 stuff? Or
yeah, let's do it. Why not? Okay. We had a whole episode on the kung fu.
No, go ahead. Yeah. Did you see that press conference where the reporters were grilling Kellyanne Conway about supposed Trump staffers calling it the Kung Flu? And she was like, "Oh yeah, who were they? Do you have names?" No, that's ridiculous. So stupid.
No, she probably heard our podcast and was like, "Oh my God, that must be a Trump."
Trump's giving out his marching orders again. But regarding the COVID-19, because we are living in the time of the internet and everybody has opinions and everybody has theories, I've been seeing theories ranging from this is a engineered Bill Gates thing so he can vaccinate the masses and put chips on our foreheads, to this is an accident in a Chinese lab or somebody undercooked a bat. Do you guys have any theories for me?
Oh, I have a very, very extensive theory. It's not that extensive, actually, but I think I'm right. I'm going to go ahead and say this is my best bet, and I'd be willing to put money on it. Not a lot of money, but I would be willing to put money on it. If you notice that all these diseases like SARS, they all come out of China. It's every few years something horrible comes out of China and kills a bunch of people. My theory is that the Chinese have been using these diseases as population control, and I think they just lost control out of this. I think they made it too powerful, and they lost control of the spread, and it just got away from them, and that's what happened. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese government's been killing their own people for decades. Starting with Mao Zedong, they've been murdering their own people for decades, putting in population limits, all this stuff. That's my theory. I'm going with this is manufactured by China to control their own population. They want to put down the Hong Kong protesters, which they did, and for me it fits.
My personal theory is it's not the whole 5G thing. I think it's freaking retarded when people say it's 5G that brought down your immune system. First off, quick tidbit: we've had 2.4 gigahertz and 5.2 gigahertz in our Wi-Fi for years. So you had 5G in your home for years, and we didn't have freaking coronavirus going through our communities.
Or did we?
Dun, dun, dun. But my theory behind it is I do believe that it was created in a lab. We have, for whatever reason, doing some research in it, China likes to put their spies in our universities. Any university that has a lab or does some type of scientific research is just fine for China. Then
or Dianne Feinstein's driver.
Yes. Oh, exactly. That was below the belt.
Good one.
But
I don't want to go below Dianne Feinstein's belt. All right. Hey, the last place I want to be.
It's the same place as Diane Sawyer. But anyway, They like to leave the country, take the knowledge that they have with them, go back to China, and the lab that they were working out of was right next to this market that supposedly leaked it. They've been working with flus inside of bats for years and trying to figure out what was going on with or how can the flu in bats affect humans and all that other stuff. And I thoroughly believe that this particular coronavirus did escape out of their lab. Now, if it has anything to do with some kind of Spygate kind of thing, I don't know. I just threw it in there because I'm bored and I like stuff like that.
Get outside, people. This is what happens when you stay inside too long.
That's right. We start developing theories. Yeah,
it definitely came out of the lab, and China lied about it. They didn't want to show that they lost control over what they were researching and experimenting on.
I have a secondary theory.
Go for it.
It's a little far-fetched. Okay, so I think that Joaquin Phoenix went insane during the filming of The Joker, went to China in order to find something where he could fight Chinese Batman. And instead, they created this virus through bats, and it started infecting everybody. That is my secondary theory.
I think you're the Riddler.
This is all the sequel to The Joker.
I was about to say, I think that'll sell if you just want to make a script out of that.
All right, we are meeting tomorrow, and we are writing this.
Is he going to come back and play the Joker for this? Or
I don't know. He might be too crazy. I mean, he did grow up in a pedophilic sex cult. That's not even allegedly. He grew up in the Children of God sex cult, which is why his brother was so damaged. And so did Rose McGowan, which is why she's so crazy. The Children of God. Yeah, it was if you look it up, Children of God, or I think they were also known as the Family, one of those two things, or the Family International. It was a pedophilic sex cult where their savior ended up murdering his mother and himself.
Oh wow!
Whoa.
Yeah, this is not even the theory. This is not allegedly. This actually happened. This is why he has so many. He's so whacked.
Well, seriously, this is 2020. I mean, everything that we've been told for years it was conspiracy theories. I mean, it's happened. Like, there really is child sex trafficking. There really was a sex cult. It's just I'll believe anything at this point. But that one I hadn't heard of before. So that was an actual thing. Children of God, you said?
Yeah, Children of God. Children of God or the Family International. They've been around for a long time. If you're looking for a good podcast, actually, I don't like to advertise for other podcasts, and I have stopped listening to them because
I thought you were going to say
a bunch of leftists. Yeah, but Last Podcast on the Left, they do a lot of really good episodes on cults and serial killers, and they do a lot of research on it. So they are a good source for that stuff. Their recent stuff, they become like leftists, and they're just like yelling about Trump and Fox News. I had to stop listening. It wasn't funny anymore, but it is very good. They do I think it's a 4 or 5 part episode on the Children of God. It's messed up.
Wow, that's interesting. I had not heard of that. And swerving back into the COVID-19, how is this affecting New York? You guys are pretty much like ground zero, it seems, for what's happening.
I mean, the people are getting restless. If you saw the protests in Albany, there are more protests planned for May 1st all over the state. People just want to get back to work. I've said this before. People are not going to stay in their homes forever. I'm surprised it took this long, honestly. People are not willing to just lay down and die. We are New Yorkers. We are tough. While the state does look blue, we are red-blooded Americans. We are tough mother effers. I don't want to curse too much on this, but
if you want, but
yeah. But we are right there. And I've said it before that the reason why we don't have mass shootings in New York is because if we have a problem with you, we're going to meet you on the playground. And it's getting to that point where Cuomo, we're ready to meet you on the playground. We're done. We're done with this lockdown.
I like I said, I'm losing my mind. My
Tech has left us, ladies and gentlemen.
To make money off of fishing, right? That's my thing.
So you're fishing now.
You should just do a YouTube series on growing vegetables in your living room.
Oh,
but we did a podcast with Gabe. We went over all the antelopes and all the other things. Just make a YouTube series, and then promote the podcast and get banned because we are.
Or you could go fishing and make a YouTube out of that. I don't know. How good of a fisherman are you? Are you entertaining?
I'm freaking great. Right? I'm excellent. But when I'm only given the option of doing it on a shore, when there's very limited shoreline to do it on, unless you're willing to like wade out or extremely deep somewhere, I got tackled by nurse shark one day, right?
Oh.
I used to live in Northwest Florida. Speaking of Florida, Ron.
Oh, hey.
Right outside of Pensacola, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me and my homeboy, we go out into this really, you know how normally it's green, it's emerald green.
Yep.
For whatever reason, it's like, I guess it's red tide or whatever, but it's like super dingy, almost rusty colored. And in front of me, I swear to God, I saw yellow eyes. So I told my homeboy, I'm like, yo, did you see like a shadow with like yellow eyes swim past? It's like huge. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he cast out. And next thing I know, probably like 10 seconds later, this hard thing just smacks my leg and then splash right in the in the water. I get up. I'm like panicking. I don't know what the heck is going on. And I hear him scream, nurse shark, nurse shark. And we're like two little girls. So with that being said, I'm really, really paranoid when it comes up to like wade fishing or going anywhere where there's not a pier or like sand I can actually stand on.
Yeah, so you need a kayak or what do they call them, Ginus or something like that?
And I don't own my own right now.
Ginu, that sounds like a racial slur.
I'm sure I said that wrong. Or did I say it?
Do you know how to say in Chinese?
Oh.
Google it later. I'm not going to say it. But
these guys came on my podcast specifically just to sabotage it. So their podcast
there can be only one.
This is real Highlander stuff going on here.
But no, yes, it's like messing up the money flow that I have planned. I refuse to go get a kayak out of Walmart after the whole, like, we're not going to sell this type of ammo anymore.
You see that that's like handgun ammo and they listed 7.62 as handgun ammo?
Yeah.
I was like, how is this a pistol that you're shooting 7.62 out of?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Bass Pro has like a 2-hour waiting line because they only let 10 people in. So I'm not going there. So now I have to wait until everything opens up to go get my kayak and I can do this the way I need to do it.
Just chop down a tree and make yourself a canoe like the natives used to.
Yeah, Seminole canoes, right?
Yeah, see? There we go. My neck of the woods again. Well, guys,
I mean, that at you, Ron.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was pretty much the questions I had for you. Where can my listeners find out more about you? You got any merch you want to plug?
Oh, definitely check out our store, Empire State Conservatives, EmpireStateConservativeNetwork.com/store. We have a whole bunch of stuff. If you're down in Florida, you will probably appreciate our Don't Let Fear Take Your Freedom shirt. That is a very popular one. We also have a new shirt for anyone who is closer to the Northeast of the evil Emperor Cuomo. We got a lot of stuff on there. We have Trump hats. We have Mullen Lob hats. We have a whole bunch of stuff on there for gun lovers, for freedom lovers. So we definitely check out our store. Make sure that you check out our podcast, Empire State Conservatives Podcast, on all platforms. Tack, anything else?
No, I'm good. Just let me fish.
Tack just wants to go back fishing. Can we just let him go fish, please? All right. In that case, that will do it for us at Publitarian Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I'm publitarian@gmail.com or thepublitarian@gmail.com. And, of course, you can always DM me on Instagram or any of the social medias. Take it easy.
Listening to Publitarian Podcast. Copyright 2020.